Let's talk about a particularly frustrating case of infrastructure mismanagement, corporate obfuscation, and the economic contradictions that arise when public goods are handled like private profit-making ventures. I'm talking, of course, about Toronto's infamous Eglinton Crosstown LRT project, a project that was supposed to open back in 2020, and now, 5 years later, still doesn't have a confirmed date, even as officials dangle the vague promise of sometime in September of 2025. The so-called Eglinton Crosstown LRT in Toronto, Canada, a transit project that began construction back in 2011 and still in the year 2025 is not operational. That's 14 years, 14, for a 19-kilometer light rail line. This isn't some engineering marvel through the Himalayas. This is a relatively straightforward midtown transit corridor in a major Canadian city, and yet it remains unopened. Why? Because the Crosstown is not just a construction project. It's a case study in how capitalism fails even in the basic provision of public infrastructure. Now let's be clear, as of July 2025, there has still been no official 3-month advance notice given to the public regarding the LRT's opening date. This lack of a concrete date, even as we are less than 90 days out from the target, speaks volumes. Not just about this one project, but about the systematic failure of capitalist frameworks to deliver public infrastructure reliably, affordably, and on time. In short, it's a lesson in how the logic of profit undermines the basic needs of a society. Under normal circumstances, if you were a private company opening a store, a hotel, even a restaurant, you would begin advanced publicity, hiring staff, training, and operational prep months in advance. But here we are in July of 2025 and the 19-kilometer Eglinton Crosstown LRT, after 14 years of planning, digging, and delays, still doesn't have an official date. Metrolinx and Crosslinx Transit Solutions, the private consortium contracted under the P3 public-private partnership model, have been saying since last year that the line would be open in September of 2025. But here's the catch. Metrolinx previously promised that a public opening date would be given at least 3 months in advance, and as of today, silence. That means there is no opening date announced, not even internally confirmed by the city, not even given to TTC operators or maintenance staff in training. Just vague murmurs and increasingly desperate attempts to spin this as progress. This is like watching a magician insist the rabbit is in the hat while clearly sweating under the stage lights. When an agency promises a 3-month notice and doesn't give one, it means either A, they know they can't meet the September deadline and are delaying the inevitable admission, or B, they are hiding the fact that critical systems such as signaling, safety, station readiness still aren't ready for prime time. In either case, the public, which has waited for over a decade, is being kept in the dark. And let's talk about why this is such a travesty. This LRT line was supposed to transform how people get across Toronto. It was supposed to relieve the overburdened subway Line 1, reduce bus congestion along Eglinton Avenue, and create fast, efficient connections across Midtown. But none of that can happen when the line remains closed. And now we're looking at the increasing possibility that the line won't open in September of 2025, despite that being the latest publicly floated estimate. That's right, after years of missed deadlines, inflated costs, and broken promises, the latest still may not come true. Let's go deeper. This isn't just a construction delay. This is an economic and political failure, and it's a direct consequence of how capitalist structures treat public infrastructure. The Eglinton Crosstown LRT was designed and built under a P3 public-private partnership model, where a consortium of private firms is contracted to design, build, finance, and maintain a public service. That consortium, Crosslinx, includes companies like ACS, Acon, Ellis Don, and SNC Lavalin. These firms are in it for profit, not for the public good. And when private firms build infrastructure, delays become negotiating tactics. Costs rise because of design changes, unforeseen conditions, and complex coordination. Deadlines get extended, and penalties get softened behind closed doors. You see, if you're a private firm, a delay doesn't mean failure. It often means profit, especially if the contract is full of loopholes that let you bill for extras or sue the government for delay-related costs. In 2023, for example, Crosslinx successfully sued Metrolinx to delay the project even further and get more money out of the province. Let's call this what it is: corporate welfare disguised as infrastructure development. The Eglinton Crosstown was outsourced by Metrolinx, Ontario's provincial transit agency, to a consortium of private corporations known as Crosslinks Transit Solutions. These include banks, real estate firms, and multinational infrastructure contractors. Their job? Build the LRT, maintain it for 30 years, and collect a guaranteed stream of payments from the public. They get paid regardless of delays, and those delays? Oh, they're record-breaking. This is what happens when we let private capital run public infrastructure. The firms involved don't have an incentive to deliver quickly. In fact, when delays occur, they sue the government and win. That's right. Crosslinks has sued the province multiple times during the construction process and walked away with hundreds of millions more in taxpayer money. Every time this project misses a milestone, the public loses a little more faith, not just in the Eglinton Crosstown, but in public trust, in urban planning, and in government itself. What happens when people lose trust? They stop voting. They stop advocating for change. They assume that every project will be a disaster, and so they accept stagnation and dysfunction as the norm. And this cynicism is dangerous, especially when you consider the stakes. Toronto is a growing city. It desperately needs reliable public transit, and yet one of its flagship transit projects is still hanging in the balance, with no confirmed opening. Worse still, the cost of this project has ballooned from $5.3 billion in 2011 to well over $13 billion by 2025, when you count all the legal settlements, operational contracts, and added delays. And the longer it takes, the more expensive it gets, not just in money, but in lost opportunity. So what does this say about capitalism? Well, everything. The profit motive, the very heart of capitalism, is supposed to ensure efficiency. That's the lie we're told. But when it comes to public infrastructure, it doesn't. Because there's no competition. You can't shop around for another LRT. You can't fire the builder and pick a new one overnight. The infrastructure is tied to the one company or consortium, which becomes a quasi-monopoly, using legal contracts to extend as much money and time as possible. And the government, rather than stepping in forcefully on behalf of the public, too often acts as a risk cushion for these firms. They bear none of the cost of public frustration. No CEO is riding the 34 Eglinton East bus in rush hour. No executive is walking down Oakwood Avenue past the shuttered storefronts whose owners went bankrupt waiting for foot traffic from a station that still hasn't opened. The Eglinton Crosstown LRT is a perfect example of economic contradictions. When you commodify what should be public good, you introduce efficiencies masked as innovation. You make the public hostage to timelines and decisions that are not transparent or democratic. So when politicians stand up and promise you that the LRT will open in September of 2025, but can't give you a 3-month advance date, you have to ask, who are they really working for? The people of Toronto or the corporations profiting off of their delay? We must learn from this. Toronto needs massive transit investment, yes, but it needs that investment to be public, transparent, and accountable, not handed off to profit-driven entities who see delay not as failure, but as a building opportunity. The Eglinton Crosstown LRT is not just a case study in construction delay. It's a symbol, a warning, a mirror held up to the failings of a system that prioritizes profit over public need. And as long as that system remains in place, whether in Toronto, New York, or anywhere else, we will continue to see these same outcomes: late, over budget, under-delivering, and soul-crushing for the average commuter. So no, we don't yet have a date, and that should tell you everything you need to know about whether September 25 is still realistic. And if you ask me, based on the way this project has gone so far, don't hold your breath. I hope that you liked the video. If so, please give it a like. If you're not subscribed and want to be notified of new videos that are released, please click on the Art Toronto button here. This is the video that I would recommend for you to watch next, and I'm sure that you're going to love it. Here's the playlist for all of the latest in transit news and views that you're going to find very informative and interesting. And finally, here's the latest video. Thanks for watching and happy transiting.